All right, hello. So excited to have so many of our awesome legacy members joining us this morning. They're doing our training and jumping in for our leadership lesson today. And today's leadership lesson episode is week 4 of our communication life skill, which is all about how we talk. So earlier this cycle, we talked about how we look, how we listen, and today we move on to how we talk. This is probably the most common and practiced of all of the pieces of communication, as well as writing, right? But it's so important to understand all the pieces of it and how it really affects other people when we change our tone, our pace, the words we use, and how important that is, and how great leaders can use the right words, the right tone, and the right things to say to really understand, help, and inspire others. All right, raise your hand if your goal is to be a great leader and inspire others here. We've got an awesome team here. Okay, great. So that's what we're going to work on today. I'm going to share my screen with you so that we can pull up our communication book and go through it together as a team. All right, so I'm going to start us off and then I'm going to look for a couple of leaders to help us out. Please make sure you're muted and that if you are close by, your volume is down so we don't get any echo effects. Can you guys hear an echo or are we good? All set? Excellent. Okay, very good. So perhaps the form of communication we're most familiar with is throughout our lives, we're constantly engaging in verbal communication. As with everything else, verbal communication begins with ourselves. There are positive and negative affirmations we say to ourselves. We must keep in mind that it's always up to us to decide what to say to ourselves. If we tell ourselves that we're not good enough or that we can't do it, we're actually promoting this negativity from within us. To add a side note to this, one of my favorite quotes, and some of you may have heard me mention this before, is if you think you can or if you think you can't, generally, you're right. And that has to do with what you say to yourself. We must avoid putting ourselves down in this way. Instead, we must remind ourselves of how extraordinary we are and encourage ourselves by saying things like, yes, I can, or I'm great, or I can do anything. Sometimes people ask why we say, yes, I can 1,000,000 times a day per class, right? Well, what's the opposite of that? Some people say that. Imagine saying the opposite. Imagine walking around all day and feeling, I can't do it. It's too hard. So yes, I can is the right mindset. And it's why we say it every single time we bow and we move on the mat. I can do anything and I'm great. If we are constantly telling ourselves that we're no good, we greatly diminish our self-worth and our happiness escapes us. But when we make positive comments about ourselves, we enhance our self-esteem, our belief in ourselves, and come better prepared to confront whatever challenges lie ahead and achieve happiness. All right, looking for a leader to read the next part for us. Mr. Antonio, take it away, Mr. Martinez.
Here
are some examples.
Okay. Here are some examples of positive things to practice saying to ourselves. I am strong. I'm a genius. I can do this. I like myself. Similarly, what we say to others can have a tremendous impact in their lives, for good or bad. Remember that words are like seeds, like a good seed that becomes a beautiful apple tree. Positive words can blossom into wonderful opportunities, but bad seeds grow into ugly poison ivy. Just like negative words become limitation and defeat. Because our children and students look up to us and listen to us, one of the best things we can do as parents, teachers, or mentors is to plant in them the good seeds of positive commentary. The power of what we say must not be underestimated. If we have nothing positive to say, it is probably best to say nothing.
Thank you, sir. Nice job. Very good.
You're welcome, ma'am.
All right. So like seeds, right? Doesn't that make sense? Raise your hand if you ever remember somebody saying something that you can't do something or telling you that you're not good enough or something negative. Has anybody ever had that happen to you? I have. And there's two ways to take that, right? What happens first when someone says something like that with you? Either it plants a seed where you decide that that's not you and you want to prove it wrong, or it plants a seed that grows and you start to question yourself, and maybe you can't do it. Maybe it's not you. Maybe you're not good enough. Maybe you're not qualified. Whatever they said could grow negatively. Or you decide right away that it's not you, it's their negativity, and you're not going to hold on to it and you let it go. But chances are you remember it, because we don't want to hold on to those negative feelings. So seeds definitely grow in either way. Raise your hand if you remember specifically someone saying to you that you can do something. I remember being 8 years old and Mr. Horton saying that I could be part of the special winning attitude team at the time, the SWAT team. That was like the prerequisite to become part of our legacy team and instructor training in the future. And it changed how I felt about myself, because someone I believed in me. So these seeds from especially this team of people that's here with us today, or anyone can plant good seeds in someone else. And it's up to us as leaders to help other people grow that way. Okay, who can tell us the next paragraph? All right, Mr. Draco, thank you, sir. Can unmute.
Some of our most meaningful interactions with other people involve verbal communication, and it's always that they are important to us. This makes the conversation all the more meaningful. Of spouse, siblings, and children. Every time we cultures, and we must understand that they exist not to separate us nor compete with one another, but rather to complete and enhance each other. The key to communicating with others from different people, believe that there's a way people can overcome language and culture barriers and communicate effectively. When the will to do so is strong enough, the sound of our voice is a major factor in our communication. Sounds that are even words can be very effective in communication with those who speak different languages. And when in a different culture, we must always be considerate and respectful of its customs. Every day it becomes more important for us to be prepared to communicate with anyone in the world, because technology brings us closer together.
Excellent. Great job, Mr. Draco. Thank you, sir. All right, so let's talk about that. Greeting. What do we do here at Mastery as part of our culture to practice that super important skill every time we come in? Yes, Mr. Zarlinga.
We bow at the door.
And what do we say?
Hello, sir, and hello, ma'am.
Excellent. Very good. So we bow at the door and we say, hello, sir, hello, ma'am. Everybody does it. Parents, kids, and we require everybody to do it because it helps with our mindset. It reminds us that that greeting is an important part of the communication and that we're welcoming each other, saying hello to each other coming in the school. It's part of our structure. It's part of our culture here. And it's a very important thing to practice no matter where you are. Now more than ever, I think people have kind of forgotten with COVID and the craziness in the past year and all the separation, how important it is to just share eye contact and a smile and say hello. So I have a crazy habit of just waving and smiling at everybody that I see. Sometimes it throws people off a little bit, but sometimes it shares a smile. And sometimes I've created great relationships that way just by saying hello and introducing myself. So it's a great thing to practice and so super important. So what do we have talking about culture here? So we have culture here at Mastery. We have culture in our local society, and we have culture in the world. Let's start with culture here at Mastery. What cultures here at Mastery, what language pieces do we use that are unique and different that you hear here more than other places? Who could tell us? Yes, Miss Davy.
We call everybody by sir or ma'am, whether or not they're an adult.
Excellent. That is exactly right. And by doing that, how do you think they feel about themselves? Miss Davy, go ahead.
They probably feel more respected.
Absolutely. Have you ever seen a little dragon, a 3-year-old, go up to someone else and introduce themselves? Hi, my daughter this morning, for example, in class. She went up and introduced herself to another little girl that was there. She's 3.5. And she goes, hi, I'm Miss Chloe. For 3-year-olds to be seeing themselves that way, it makes them act a little bit differently. Okay, so that's a great example of the words we use having some meaning to it and adding some feeling and changing that. Great. Okay, so we use sir and ma'am. We do it all the time. We practice that respect when you don't hear that many other places. What else? Anything else? What else do you hear here on a regular basis?
Yes, I can.
Yes, I can. Perfect. All the time. Yes, I can. Great. And those things sink in. So that's part of our culture. Raise your hand here if you know or speak another language. Anybody? A couple people, kind of. How incredible is it by speaking another language? Now your ability to lead and communicate at least doubles to be able to reach other people. Really important to be able to understand that. Do you know most places in the world, everyone in the entire country speaks at least 2 languages? So if you want to really increase our skill as a leader, maybe learning another language is a great goal to have, to be able to understand other cultures and reach more people. Excellent. All right, so leaders know what to say no matter where they are in the world. There are some simple yet crucial phrases that can be found in most languages that can help us create a special link with those people whose culture and language we barely know. Hello, thank you, and you're welcome, right? Who could say hello in a different language? Really quick, unmute if you could say hello in a different language. Let's hear it.
Hola.
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 Great, hola. Anybody else? Go ahead, unmute and say it if you know it.
Bonjour.
Bonjour, excellent. Anybody else?
Aloha.
What was that, Mr. Jacob, Mr. Tellier? Mr. Jacob.
Aloha.
Aloha. All right, one more.
Ciao.
Ciao. Great. Okay, good. So that's like 4 languages right there. Some of those words mean hello and goodbye. Okay, so excellent. It's not hard to take the time just to learn a few, and that could really help. Okay, so right now we're going to do a quick exercise. It says, with a partner, take 30 seconds to say 10 very descriptive, positive things about the other person. So are you ready? I need everybody on this group here. Look at somebody else, okay? Some of you are really close. Some of you are friends. Some of you know each other personally, a lot of you, right? And we're gonna go down the line, okay? When I highlight you, get ready, because you're gonna say something specific and positive about somebody else in the Zoom. Could be anybody. Are you ready? Okay, Ms. Davy, you're at the top of my screen, so we're gonna start with you. Oops, sorry, I muted you by accident. Can you unmute, please? Great.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Okay. I'm next to Mr. Zarlinga right now. So, Mr. Zarlinga, I think that you have very nice hair.
Mr. Zarlinga, go ahead. You take a turn too, since you're there.
Yes, ma'am. Miss Davy looks very proper with her uniform today.
Excellent. Very good. Okay, Mr. Norris.
Mr. Monaco looks professional with his new red polo.
Oh, congratulations. Keep going down the line, all 3 of you.
Mr. Vaughn looks super professional, how he's sitting up nice and tall.
Great.
Mr. Vaughn?
Do I
Mr.
do
Vaughn?
someone
You can do any-
group
go
or
ahead.
someone else?
Anybody.
All right. I like how Mr. Monaco is standing up nice and tall.
Excellent. Great posture is important. Okay, Team Tellier,
Well, Mr. Jacob does a really good job trying new things and having great fun.
Awesome. Mr. Jacob?
Miss Tellier is great at teaching, no matter what rank they are.
Excellent. Very good. Mr. Landon?
Mr. Raymond is really good with energy while teaching, and I actually feel like very pumped up when I am taught by him.
Awesome. Me too. Mr. Martinez?
Mr. Jargway, when he stands tall, he has good posture.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Mr. Blanchett?
When Mr. Zarlinga teaches, I feel very energetic and it's amazing.
Awesome. This is great. Very good. Ms. Verna?
I want to say thank you for the telliers because they've always stayed after class to answer any questions that I have about the class plan or different things I was learning. I appreciate it.
Wonderful. Mr. Jargway? Did I say it right?
Yeah, you said it right. Yeah, I really like Mr. Martinez's hair, and it really looks nice.
Awesome. All right, Mr. Nicholas.
When Mr. Norris teaches, he's pretty jumpy and moves around and is loud, and it makes the class fun.
Excellent. That's important. Very good. Mr. Raymond?
Hi, ma'am. So when Mr. Giacoboni walks into the room, he has a really great presence about himself.
Presence. Awesome. That's a good quality in a leader. Very good. Let's have Mr. Martinez.
Miss Cece has good positivity.
And Mr. Martinez is very intelligent and a great motivator.
Fantastic. Great job. Ms. Long?
Miss Verna is always striving towards the next step and always looking for new ways to improve herself.
Wonderful. Mr. Draco?
Mr. De Lima, he's getting better at holding pads.
Excellent. Very good. Mr. Landon, did you go yet?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And Mr. JT? Actually, both of you can go.
I like how Mr. Gorbat's always very confident.
Excellent.
And I like how JT is always paying attention and following rules.
Awesome. Very good. Okay, very good. Okay, so let me ask you guys a question then, especially most of you being teenagers. Where do most people live? Concerned about how they make other people feel or concerned about how they feel?
Concerned about how they feel.
Very good. So for some people, this is a little bit uncomfortable. Okay, the better you get at bringing other people up, lifting other people up, and giving compliments, the easier life will be because the more you can share that with other people. Okay, it's so super important. And it's really fun to see a smile on someone's face and just be honest about it. It's got to be sincere. But if I walk by, my husband laughs at me for it all the time, but if I walk by somebody in a store and they've got a shirt on that I think is cool, I'll tell them, hey, wow, nice shirt. He thinks it's crazy, but it shares a smile and I'm just being honest. Okay, and it's always okay to share those things with the people around you, even if it's just simple surface stuff like that, because we can lift people up. So many people spend their time putting others down. Okay, but leaders lift people up for sure. Okay, so an open-ended question is one that cannot be answered with a yes or a no. It requires an answer with an explanation. An example of an open-ended question is, what do you like about martial arts? With a partner, we're going to ask 5 open-ended questions. Okay, so we're not going to do this individually with a partner, but this is a great exercise to do just to practice asking and answering questions. Okay, so what we're going to do right now, I'm going to stop this for a moment. And we're going to talk about a couple other things about how we talk. Open-ended questions are so important because the way that we show other people that we care is by finding out more about them. How do you find out more about other people?
Have a little quick chat with them, maybe after class. Take 5 minutes, get to know them, ask them about their day.
Ask questions. Exactly. We ask questions. So I would like to know, I'm going to ask an open-ended question and I need 2 answers, and leaders take action. Who could tell me something that has changed in their life from being at Mastery? You guys been here for a long time. Unmute and tell me, whoever's first. All right, Mr. Raymond, go ahead.
The one thing that's changed in my life is that I walk in more confidently. I don't have my shoulders down. I don't walk with my head down anymore. And I've also changed like my attitude. I was always like a little brat, but now I'm kind of like more mature.
You are kind of more mature. Excellent. Very good. Thank you, sir. All right, who else? What has changed in your life due to Mastery?
Not letting people walk on me.
Not letting people walk on you. How so?
I just let a lot of people get to me, and now I kind of am resistant to that.
Now you step above it, right? Excellent. Very good. Okay, let's do 2 more because these are good answers. Mr. Bond, go ahead.
I'm a lot more direct. I look people in the eyes when I talk to them now. It's what before I used to look at the ground a lot, and now I can actually have direct conversations with people.
Excellent. Do you see that most teenagers have a really hard time with that?
Yes.
Amazing. Have you ever, you guys might have had this experience, right? Have you ever walked down the hallway in your middle school or high school or even at work? You walk down the hallway and there's people walking by and you look at them to say hello, but they go like this. Like they try so hard not to see your eyes. Raise your hand if that's ever happened to you. Right? And it's not their fault. It's because they're not comfortable with the kind of confidence and communication that you guys have spent so much time practicing. This is a huge advantage in the world. Okay, I can share with you quickly. So in college, my major was public and professional communications. Okay, most of what I learned about communication came from Mastery. I was in a class with many A-type personalities. The kids that were in this PR program in college, they were very, they were fun, they were loud, they were the kind of people that were like the life of the party. However, when we were required to stand up, turn around and give a speech to the class, it was like this drastic change. It blew my mind. And I felt so good. And I was so grateful that I did not feel that way. When I stood up in front of a class, I had so much practice from triangulation and leadership and instruction that it was easy for me to speak in front of the class. It was a big advantage. And it's something that maybe you don't feel all the time, but you guys, you have a big advantage from that too. Mr. Bond, you're absolutely right. Okay, last one.
My discipline has changed a lot.
Excellent, Mr. Blanchett. How so?
Because I used to get like really mad when a lot of things had happened, but now that Mastery changed the discipline that I have in myself, it's been different through when I'm getting mad. I don't normally, when I got mad, I would like hit stuff, but now I just stop and remember the discipline that I need to have and breathe.
That's amazing. That's something probably a lot of kids your age could really relate to, right? It's hard to control your emotions sometimes. I know a lot of adults that need a lot of work on that too, but understanding that kind of control and being able to choose your reaction to things is huge. So amazing. I loved hearing these examples. Okay, so now we practiced how to get to know people, how to communicate better, how to ask questions, how to greet, how to understand people in different parts of the world, how to understand how we communicate in different cultures. There's one more thing I want to talk about, right? When you use the words that you use, your tone actually changes everything about your sentence. For example, if I said, Mr. Raymond, gee, glad you showed up today. Did that sound or look sincere?
No, ma'am, not at all.
No. So it's not just about the words that I use, but if I say, Mr. Raymond, I am so glad that you showed up today, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Different, right? The first time you definitely didn't say thank you. Okay. What if I said something like, Mr. Raymond, I'm glad you showed up today. What does that mean?
It means that you're kind of like pointing me out and you're kind of just saying that I see you and you're here.
Okay, good. What if I say, Mr. Raymond, I'm glad you showed up today. What does that mean?
It's kind of saying that I should have showed up more often
Right. There's some other time you didn't show up. You see how changing the emphasis on the word changes the complete meaning of it? What if I said, Mr. Zarlenga, I'm glad you remembered your belt today. What if I said, Mr. Zarlenga, I'm glad you remembered your belt today. How about if I said, Mr. Zarlenga, I'm glad you remembered your belt today. See the difference? What does that one mean? I'm glad you remembered your belt today.
That I didn't remember anything besides my belt.
Right. It probably means you forgot something else. So it's not just the words that we use and understanding, but it's understanding how the tone and how you say it, your body language, all comes together to become part of our communication. Okay. All right, great. So you guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. We had a great team. I loved hearing all of your answers to the questions and how you worked with each other and how you built each other up through positive comments. All right, so I just need a couple people to share with me one thing that you learned, one takeaway from this lesson about communication and how we talk today. All right, Mr. Raymond, go ahead, sir.
One thing I learned and I'm going to take away is that even if you can speak multiple languages, you can reach more people instead of just staying in your one category that you know.
Absolutely. That's very true. Good. What else?
It's not just about being able to reach people through different languages. It's being able to reach people through different tones. Like not everyone learns the same. Not everyone applies the same to the tone of voice. So then some people get really excited. Some people get scared because of it. So you have to kind of change your tone depending on the person.
Yes, and understanding what kind of tone to take to speak to different people is an incredible skill as a leader. Absolutely. All right, anybody else? Yes.
This is Mr. Giacoboni. I forgot to put it on the screen.
Thank you, Mr. Giacoboni.
So what I learned is that it's better to ask an open-ended question rather than a yes or no, because it provides you with like a better interaction than just asking someone like yes or no.
Absolutely. That's a great point. If we want to get to know someone and we want to create a conversation, right? Do you know what is the base of the word communication?
Communicate.
Okay.
Even smaller.
The way we speak to people.
Commune.
Common, right? Communication comes from things we have in common. Have you ever, really quick, have you ever been in like Florida and met someone from Rhode Island and instantly you're best friends? That ever happened to you before? Weird, right? When you walk out the door and meet people from Rhode Island, though, you don't feel that same connection. But when you're somewhere else and you have someone in common, something in common, or like you met someone and they like the same sports team you do, and you have this connection with them, right? So sometimes communication and relationships can be built on just having something in common. All right, so amazing, great takeaways. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. We hope to see you guys in more of our leadership life skill trainings every Saturday at 11 a.m. with different chief instructors. Great job today and have a great afternoon.